Yay. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Veronica. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to
We're
be
going to be
here.
talking today about how to become and how to feel emotionally free from sugar. That's how you feel, right?
Exactly. That's a
Yeah.
good
And
feeling.
yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, did you imagine that that sort of feeling could exist?
I don't think so. I'm not sure I stopped and thought about, but I just at the moment, through many, many years, it just felt like it was part of me, that feeling, right? So I didn't even stop to think about what else, right?
Yeah.
What if is not this, right? Yeah.
So
Ooh.
we're going to talk about what it is that it means for you, this emotional freedom from sugar, what it means to me. And for people watching, I invite you to put your comments in the comment section. Ask your questions. If interrupt us whenever, we're fine, right? Veronica, being interrupted.
Totally.
Yeah, no worries. And to let us know also what's your definition of emotional freedom from sugar, whether you're actually living it now or whether you have this sort of dream of one day being there where Veronica and I are, where we don't even want or miss sugar anymore, right? Who'd have
Not at
thought?
all. Well,
Veronica,
me,
yeah, I know. And so tell us, Veronica, did you used to eat a lot of sugar?
yes. And yeah, I did. I did
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
it. And not only sugar, so some other stuff that becomes sugar, and I didn't know. Once I ate it, it would be sugar as well. So yeah, a lot
yeah.
of that.
And when you say sugar, I know what I mean when I say sugar, but when you say sugar, do you mean like the desserts and the chocolate and the pastries, or do you mean like what do you actually mean by sugar when you say that?
Well, like back then, if you ask me, sugar, I would describe what you just described, any candy, chocolate, desserts, and all that stuff. Now, after having learned a lot of things from you, now when you say sugar, I also think on in terms of like bread and, refined flours and grains and things like that, that back then I wouldn't have said, oh, that's sugar. No, that's bread, that's pasta, or whatever it was, right?
Right,
So
right.
now I can make the distinct, well, I can say sugar and mean everything, but back then I had no idea that also the bread would affect, I guess, similarly that the
Yeah.
candy or chocolate does, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it does for a lot of people. And I guess it did for you as well. I want to get back. I just want to tell the people watching that we've been friends. How long have we been friends? We met a couple of years ago, didn't we?
3 years, yeah, 2, 3 years, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
And online, I mean, we've never met in person.
No, not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
There will come the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the
No,
works.
we never
And
have.
I know. And we have a lot of things in common. First of all, we're not from Canada, but we both live in Canada, but on opposite
Right.
sides of Canada. You're in BC, I'm in Quebec.
We're covering the whole country, you know?
Yeah, we're covering the whole country. I'm originally from England. You're originally from Mexico. Mexico is like my second home. You lived in Montreal. And then all kinds of things we have in common.
Oh, so
And
many.
one of the things that we have in common is that we used to be huge sweet teeth. And now we're happily emotionally free from sugar. And I'd like you to tell us sort of how that did that come to be for you?
Well, for me, I think the first thing is that before you, I would say, every time I say before is before I met you. Okay, so
Okay.
before before you, um, I knew and I had a general idea, and I would say a good idea of what nutritious food was, what wasn't, what junk food was, what wasn't. I think I was pretty clear on that, and it was clear for me too what I was eating that I shouldn't have. Um, but I just tried dieting, right? I did so many, and I could name a few, but it would take the entire hour if I just named the things that I've tried. But and I have to say, some things work for me. For example, I did Weight Watchers, and I lost 30 pounds, and I was very happy because I felt that I was eating healthy, and no question about it, I was eating healthier than what I
Right.
was before, but not necessarily addressing everything that I need to address, right? I try keto, I try, you name it, I try a lot of different things, right? But I knew, and I realized over the years that it was getting harder and harder, because before, if I had an extra pound here and there, I would do quickly think here and that's it. And then the older you get, after pregnancy, so many factors affect, and that it wasn't the same. And I figured that even when I was choosing the right food, let's say an example, that was my first aha moment, that it's thanks to you. Like I've realized that in certain situations I would be stressed out. If I had a deadline at work, if I had something I have to finish, I would be in front of my computer, and before I get ready to start doing it, I would be like, okay, I need something. I'll go to the kitchen. If it was in not a healthy period of my life, I would grab whatever I had, chips or whatever I had,
Yeah.
but I needed something. So I'll
You
have
need,
my fix.
and you, because I think we talked about this, when we worked together, you made that connection eventually with when we got together, that when you were stressed, under stress, you needed to put something in your mouth.
My mouth. Yeah. And it was for me, it was very revealing. And I think I've told you this million times, but because I knew that, I think I mentioned, somebody had told me, well, just be mindful of what you're putting in your mouth and so on. But nobody had asked me or questioning me the why, right? Why am I putting something in my mouth? And I think we talk, and I mentioned, I have the problem with this, the stress and work and things and deadlines. Specific deadlines for me was like, gotta get this done. And it seems that I needed go get some gas, right? I need some fuel in my body to do it. And the way I was doing it, it was with food. But then I never stopped to ask myself why, right? And I quickly realized that even if I had chosen cucumbers or carrots to be crunching on, and it was still not good, but it was until you asked me why or what is causing it, and you made me, I don't remember all the questions, but you asked me certain questions that made me think, like, okay, why am I doing that? So I'm trying to patch up a symptom, let's say, or like, but I'm not really going through the root of what is causing this. Why do I need to put something in my mouth? And until you start questioning me, and we went back and forth, and I say, you know what? I have to find a different way to deal with this, and it has to be something else and not something I put in my mouth. Because even choosing the healthy food, if I went for the cucumbers, I was still not addressing the issue. And it's until you made me realize, hold on a second, forget about the food, forget about the sugar. What is causing this, and what are the things that I can do to address that? Because it's important. It's still my feeling,
Yeah.
and it's still what I was going through, right? So, but until you
Yeah.
made me realize that finding a way, I remember sorry, I'm going back and forth, but there was something that you said that it really said, you take the sugar away, but life goes on, and your stress, your issues, your whatever it is that is in your head or in your life, it doesn't go away. So taking sugar out of the equation without addressing the other thing may leave you in the same place, or temporary good, but then you fall back into, I need something. And what is
Right.
that something?
Yeah.
And what if I don't have the cucumber? So what you made me realize is that is not only about what I choose to eat, is how I choose to deal with the rest of the stuff that before used to make me go into, a sugar binge
Yeah.
or something like that. And that's
And
just
and that and that kind of thinking of like meta cognition, thinking about how you're behaving without judging. I mean, I don't know if you felt that I was saying you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be eating that, because it's not
I
what I
love your
meant.
approach. You have never told me don't do that. You have to do this. That like I even when I ask you or when you talk about what you do, what you eat or what you not, I love the fact that it's like I eat whatever I want, and you can eat whatever you want, and it's just it is so true. And sometimes we're in the diet mentality, we are so used to be told you can't have this, no, 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 or yes, you can have this, but it has to be like this, and the restrictions and the rules, and we're so used to that
Yeah.
to me, when I start talking to you, it was refreshing, because even, and I'm not big into mindset, and even though maybe I should, but on the positive thing, I do believe in the power of the mind. And
Yeah.
if I'm telling myself that no, I can't have that, and no, it's just kind of the forbidden fruit, right? You kind of want
Right.
it a little more
Oh,
when they
yeah.
tell you you can have it, right?
If people tell
So,
me what to do, I'm going to go out and do the exact opposite, And in
right?
fact, that's what happens, right? I mean, and even after I stopped eating sugar, that I was told, oh, you can start sugar again. I was like, no, don't tell me what to do.
I
So
just want to eat it.
you didn't feel like you were told, you got to do this, you got to do that. I think what I understand is that you felt that you now had the questions that I asked you got you thinking
Oh, big.
about something much deeper than just, well, what food is better than sugar? If I'm going to put something in my mouth when I'm stressed, then what can I eat instead of sugar? And I think we approached it differently by saying, hang on, wait a minute, this, whether or not you eat anything, the stress is there. And oftentimes sugar and or any other food that you use as a coping skill with an emotion, that will actually, in my humble opinion, that will prevent you from actually dealing with that emotion, coping with that stress, or because you're just sort of squishing it. You're squishing it down, numbing it. At least I
Yeah.
used to. And I think that was the case for you, right?
Exactly. I wasn't even stopping to think about. I just it sounds so bad saying it that way, but I needed my fix. I needed something to get me okay. I'm not necessarily saying to get me relaxed, but it was just okay. I knew, and it kind of became a routine as well. That when I was gonna get into that, my mind knew, and it was like, what is it? And I was thinking in the kitchen trip, like, and it was
Yeah.
the pantry rather than the fridge, and it's just
Yeah. We
it
know.
was just a bad habit that. But yeah, once you
Yeah.
started questioning and allowing me, no, you encourage me to think, and to think in a different way,
Yes.
rather than just keep what I knew. And because I could easily say, and I said it, I remember talking to my parents and saying, hey, I feel like I could even give a class on diets and nutrition and what is good and what is bad. Yeah, I had all the information, or a good chunk. I'm not saying all, because no, not really, but I thought I did. But I couldn't make it work for me, because I wasn't connecting the dots. I wasn't really thinking or paying attention to the right things. No question about it. Choosing nutritious food rather than processed or junk products,
Sure.
it's good, but it wasn't good enough for me
Okay.
until you allow me, or guided me, encouraged me, and motivate me. And really, I don't, it was like that, because it's not that you were pushing me to think in one way. She just knew what to ask, what to say. And then it was like, wow, like,
Yeah, that was quite an
bingo.
aha moment when you
Totally.
realized, when I have this emotion or these emotions, I have this behavior, and like is there another way to actually deal with the emotions rather than push them down and numb them? And that was the aha moment I remember that you had. I just want to interrupt you to invite people watching to interrupt us, and to tell us in the comments, if you're brave enough, what emotions get you wanting to put something in your mouth, whatever it is, with no judgment on anybody's part, because we tend to judge ourselves much more harshly than anyone else would judge us. What emotions come up for you that make you want to eat something, and specifically sugary things? And let us know. Like, is it stress? Is it when you're tired? Is it when you're, help me out here, Veronica, frustrated?
Angry. Yeah. If you're angry, that would do it too.
Yeah. And even when you're bored, when it's like, well, I'm just like, sometimes whenever, like we're moms and we're running around all day. And then when we sit down at last at night, we're like, oh, I've got nothing to do. I think I'll just.
What do I want? What do I need? Yes. Yeah.
So if anyone here is willing to tell us, what are the emotions that bring up this sort of this desire to eat something,
Yeah.
And so when you had, Veronica, when you had this aha moment, when you said, oh, look, I am eating better foods than I used to when I'm stressed, but A, the stress is still there, and, spoiler alert, it always will be. And B, well, how else can I add to my toolbox, as it were, to get other tools to be able to deal with these emotions and the stress, And Wendy's saying, and disappointment is another feeling, it's like, yeah, totally, and quite frankly, I remember just a little story about my grandma in England. She used to drink tea, a nice cup of tea, whenever she felt any emotion or when anything happened, negative or positive. And I get the feeling that for us, it's the same. It's the same for sugar or any type of food. It's like, all the positive things. Yay, I remember thinking, yes, I gave a good class. I finished correcting all my exams. My students all got good marks. I deserve chocolate. And on the other hand, for you, you're saying, oh, I'm stressed and I'm, I've got a deadline and whatever, negative, I deserve chocolate, whatever it is.
And honestly, I was both ways, like for good and bad. Is it a celebration? Yay, it's a celebration. We need, a cake. It's not a birthday. That's okay. We need a cake. It's a celebration, right? It was, it's both the good and the positive. We tend, I think in general, I'm going to make a generalization, but I think as a society, we are just so used to, let's celebrate with food, right? We have forgotten in general about many other things that are good to celebrate with.
And I'm not saying to take away the food for celebration. I'm just talking about thinking about what type of food we can make in a celebration. And Wendy's saying that the answer to everything in the UK is to put the kettle on. And Wendy's in the UK as well. It's totally true. Tea.
And I'm gonna say something about that, because to me, I'm not criticizing what they do in UK, but one thing that happened to me, Wendy, please, is that when I was trying to find something else to do when I was stressed out about a deadline, at first I said, well, even water, right? And water, it's a good thing. But then me personally, what happened is I came to realize after, back and forth talking to you and your help and your support, that I didn't want to put something in my mouth. Let's put it that way. Even if water is as good as cucumbers or carrots, I was still putting something in my mouth. So even though I started with a glass of water to replace that, I move into, well, you know what? I'm going to go upstairs and do a lap upstairs in my house if I didn't have time to go out, or if it was raining or whatever it was the case. If I could, I would go for a little walk. And even if I didn't have, 10 to 15 minutes, because believe me, whatever I grabbed to eat, it would be gone in a couple of minutes. So I didn't really have 10 to 15 minutes. I was in a deadline. But I would go on just one little across the block, one walk. That's it. And it took me 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But I opted for doing something that didn't have to do with putting something in my mouth, even if it was water. As water, it's good for you, but it's still, I personally wanted to break that connection. And with your guidance, that for me, that was more useful, because not only I was breaking the connection or getting that away, I was also alleviating the feeling that I had. So I was addressing, maybe not fully addressing it, but I did help with the stress and the tension that I felt that I needed to no, because that allowed me to think, breathe, and just get even some fresh air, and put me in a better mental state to go back and do what I had to do.
And break that kind of mindless habit, which is called pattern interrupt. It's like, you'd been doing the same thing over and over again. And when you finally kind of manage to just one time, and then another time, and another time, break that habit, break that pattern, then would you say, did that start helping you to feel like you started to feel free from sugar, or free from that particular habit?
When I'm like, in terms of dates, or
no, I'm not saying when. I'm just asking whether it actually started off that kind of path of feeling free.
Yes, like it was for me, that aha moment was kind of like, it kind of gave me hope, because I knew it's like, okay, this is different. My parents must be up to hear, and even my husband, of hearing it, because I was like, oh, I gotta tell you about it. Like, for me, it was so revealing. So I would say that that's when I started feeling the freedom. But back then, I didn't know it was that feeling of freedom. For me, it was hope. There is a way. Because I was tired. I was done with trying to do this and do that and this, and always go back one way or another for whatever reason it was. Even valid reasons that people will say, oh, well, of course, you went through this. Well, still, it wasn't serving the purpose that I wanted. I wasn't feeling good. I would eat and, yes, feel okay for the moment, but then I will regret what I ate. I would feel horrible. I would hide. And anyways, like a bunch of stuff that it did not make me feel good. So when I was able to make that connection and start changing certain things, I was like, oh, there is a way. There is, and it started with me with hope. Like, okay, there is a way, and I know somebody. And that, honestly, to tell you the truth, that was the huge difference for me, because yes, you made me have so many aha moments, but the support, and for me knowing that you were there, and that you were in the group and you were there for me when I needed, that support was also critical, because you could have taught me or helped me, guide me to get to the aha moment and walk away, and I never see you again.
I wouldn't do
and
that.
I guarantee you that slowly, I would have forgotten about all that, because I would have gotten too busy into everything else. So that support was also what got me to start to feeling like that.
Smashing. So tell me, we each have our definitions, our own definitions of what emotional freedom from sugar feels like. Because it's one thing to not eat sugar anymore, but if you're white knuckling it and dreaming of eating sugar and falling off the wagon and saying it just becomes like another diet otherwise. So I call it emotional freedom from sugar. And how would you define it for yourself?
I would say for me, it's I have more energy. I'm not falling asleep after a meal, like I can play with my daughter and not feel like, oh my goodness, I gotta take a break. I can't do it anymore. I can go out and play basketball with her. I can go jump on the trampoline. I have it. That's what I would call. That's what I would categorize as the freedom, because for me, it means that I just can do more of the things that make me happy, that light me up, and I'm not too hung up into, I don't want to look at me in the mirror. I don't even want to, photos. I would always hide. Videos, it, like,
Okay.
no, thank you. If I could skip it, I would skip it via, in a live, like, why would I do that? Right. So it's that's the freedom that now I have, that I can do whatever I want and I don't feel restricted. I don't feel bad. I don't feel tired. I feel alive.
Lovely. Wow. So what do you do now when there is a celebration, if it's it was your daughter's birthday recently, or if you, I mean, I'm sure you still get tired and stressed, because I say, I always say real life carries on whether or not you eat sugar. So what do you do now in these situations where before you would have reached out for sugar?
Well, it all depends on the time of the day, but I still go, like, walking is one of my things. Even a few days ago, there was a late night for something, and it was like I was super tired, but I realized that I didn't get to move much that day. And I told my husband, "Do you want to go for a half-hour walk?" And even though you will think it's tired, I could say, "Let's go to bed early," and things like that.
Yeah.
But I knew that going to bed early, maybe it's just like, oh, if you watch TV and he wants to eat. I still try to go to walking. That's my thing for me when I can. But if not, then maybe I'll grab a book and I just get my mind into something else. I just try to find. And now, in terms of situations where I go, like, I went to Disneyland in April.
Yeah, you went
And
before.
I did tell you, I was kind of like, how am I going to react? That was my first, like, big test in terms of, because you're exposed to all type of junk food.
All
You
those
are.
all those food stands. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
but
gosh.
you know what? I felt very proud of myself that I didn't feel that need, that, like, before I used to say I no longer have willpower. I don't think it had anything to do with willpower.
Yeah.
It was
I,
just my
yeah.
body and how I was, fueling my body with the wrong things that made me had those cravings and those lack of willpower. I don't think now, if you ask me, I don't think it had to do anything with willpower.
No,
It
you're
was just
right.
what
I
I put
mean,
in, right?
yeah, neurologically, willpower, forget it. It's not even a thing.
Yeah. So, but before I would tell you that, oh, I used to have a lot of willpower and now I don't. Well, yeah, but because I'm doing the wrong things, right? So now I was able to go with Disneyland, and we were in the parks for 3 days, from 9 in the morning, 4 days actually, from 9 in the morning, sometimes until 10. And what did I do? When I woke up early, I had a good breakfast. So before I even left the place where I was staying, I had my protein, I had my vegetables, I had my fruit, I had my everything that I needed to feel good for enough hours. And then I brought some containers with my food as well, because I knew there would be occasions that, yes, there may have a salad, but, or something that I feel, or some chicken or something. Again, it doesn't even have to be just salad, right? But I knew that there were going to be more of the things that I would prefer not to eat than the ones that I would. And for those occasions, I had, I got some nuts and I got some snacks. I got some cucumbers, and, I was prepared, because I knew that back in the day, that wouldn't be a very big trigger for me. But I tell you, it was easier than I thought. I told you, I was really proud of myself. And every night I would tell my husband, it's like, did you see? Like, you guys ate this and this and that. I smelled a couple of things. And I tell you, they smelled really good.
I'm sure.
But not good enough. to
get
for me
that.
to say,
Oh,
hey, forget
that's
it.
very powerful. Really good, but
Yeah.
not good enough. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
powerful. And what I'm proud of you for, amongst 1,000 things, is the fact that you were able to take back your power. I call it personal power, to say, I'm the one deciding. Thank you very much. And I mean, Disneyland, I mean, that is a lot of pressure, and they are imposing on us all of the types of foods that they think are treats for us. And some of us have stepped out of that paradigm, me and you, and some of the people watching here, Wendy, for example, as well, because I know Wendy, and others maybe have stepped out of this paradigm of celebrations must include these foods, and by these foods, 99% of the time it's sugar and flour stuff things, and so we've stepped out of that. Do you feel that you no longer enjoy celebrations?
No, not at all. It's quite the opposite. I feel that now I can enjoy without being worried about, oh, how much am I eating of this? How much? I can tell you that, funny enough, it would have been without me knowing. Now that I can compare the thing, I think I enjoy now more because I don't have to worry about what I'm doing and how I'm gonna feel tonight, or whether my clothes is gonna feel tighter
Yeah,
when I leave the party because what I ate, right?
yeah.
So I enjoy people, I enjoy conversations, I enjoy the moment, right? So no, I think it's even better now.
Cool. And so you're not enjoying life less, you're not celebrating life less. What do you like, and how, when you have like strong emotions, positive or negative, do you feel now that you have like a better handle on them, or that you are better equipped to deal with them?
Oh, absolutely. I think throughout the months and the time I've have with your help, I have prepared myself better, equipped myself better to have those tools when I need them, right? Because I'm not gonna lie, there still have been moments where you get to the point that it's like, oh, I don't care, just give me
Yeah.
that, right? And especially, I have to say, even though my daughter and my husband, try to follow suit, there are occasions that they eat some other things, and it's their decision as well. There have been moments, but at the end of the day, I think I always try to remember, and that helps me, that like, how am I gonna feel? So yes, maybe I get into the quick fix, but I know, because I remember I've done it many times, I know that after I'm done, I'm gonna feel bad about what I did. Forget about physically, mentally I will feel like, why did I do that? One,
Okay.
two, physically it will catch up as well, and even a little bit, to me personally, even a little bit could be a lot in a different ways. Or I feel like, oh well, I already ate this, may I well as well have this too, and add this, and hey, it was a bad day, let's make it a whole. Like, I know how my behavior could be or used to be, that I was just like, no,
Yeah.
what's the point? And again, so I'll go either walk, or I try to also question myself,
Okay.
why do I need this now, right? And that mindfulness that you have taught me, that you have, it helps, because applies to every single moment. Yeah, I may not be in the computer with a deadline that now I have very easily, it's easy for me to identify, but there are new things that can come up that I'm not necessarily linking as, oh, there are going to be triggers. But if I stop and ask myself, so what's going on? Why do you want this? Then I kind of, instead of being worried about what I'm going to eat, I kind of occupy myself in
With,
why, and try to figure out. That's a distraction on its own to
yeah,
begin with.
yeah,
But
totally.
it helps me, because it helps me find ways to cope with things in a more healthier way than just reacting to what I'm used to, or
Amazing.
what I used to do.
Yeah, totally. And I know we've talked about this before, and it's like, I call it, for myself, I call it growing up. And I'm like, and it's like, I feel like I became an adult when I stopped looking for comfort and reward and, stress relief in sugar. And when I actually sort of learned, because I didn't learn it, growing up, and most of us didn't, how to cope with our emotions, how to cope with stress. So once I sort of put, as you were saying, like, put this mindfulness and concentrate on, well, let's see all the different tools that I can use to cope with emotions and stress, then, you're just then I'm much better equipped as a grown up to actually deal with what's going on, and again, no judgment. I mean, I did this for 45 years of just like eating chocolate when I don't like tea. Sorry, Wendy, I have to break it to you. I don't like tea unless it's fermented into kombucha. So I didn't, have a nice cup of tea when I felt any sort of emotion. I had chocolate. Then when you don't have chocolate anymore, in my case, like, well, something's missing. There's like this big bar of chocolate-sized hole, this in your life where you're like, well, what am I going to do? It's scary to think, what am I going to do if I don't do what I've always done? Not even what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? How am I going to feel if I have to feel the feelings? And when that can seem pretty overwhelming and scary if we've never actually, done that before without some kind of a screen. But at the same time, did you find that when you were actually coping with your emotions, it wasn't that bad after all?
The emotion itself, you mean?
Yeah, the emotion itself.
Yeah, I think sometimes, yeah, we make things bigger. I think probably in my case, that kind of habit, right, made things even more pressing, right? It's just like maybe not necessarily bigger the issue, but it was more urgent. I had to deal with it immediately, right? And may not be the intensity, but yeah, it just made it worse because you had an urge, right?
Yeah.
At the moment. And
Yeah.
that urge made it like, yeah, urgent. Yeah, you're right. It just diminishes once that's not there. It's like, oh, yeah, like deadline, but not eating cucumbers is not going to make me any faster, right? Or eating anything, it's not going to make me any faster, right?
Yeah. And I've got nothing against cucumbers, just saying. It's not about the cucumbers. It's not about what you're eating. It's about you and how you feel and how we live our life. It's like, as you were saying before, do we choose to live our life as a reaction to other stuff going on, or do we choose to live our life? It's like not even in control, because I don't really see it as being
the way
in
we
control.
want.
As what? Sorry?
Is the way we want, choosing to live your life the way you wanted to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because it could be different this week from the other week. And I think I can I tell a quick story? When we went to Disneyland, and I may have mentioned this in the group, and when we went to Disneyland, the last day we were in San Diego, and my brother-in-law, well, he knows I'm Mexican, and there are a lot of Mexican stores. He was insisting, we gotta go. I gotta take you this market. They make tortillas there. It's fresh. It's not preservatives. It's this and that. And he was so insistent. I had no intention to go, but at the end I was like, okay, he really wants me to do it. I'll go. And I got some tortillas. I bought them, brought them home. I said, my dad will like them, blah, blah, blah. And that day I chose to have a couple of tortillas. Why? Because I wanted to,
Sure.
and I chose to do it. And I didn't feel bad mentally in saying, why am I doing this? Or I just chose to do it, and I did it aware of what it was my decision. But then later on, I was sitting out on the couch talking to my daughter, and she said, "Can you hold my apple? I'm going to the restroom. I'm going to the washroom." So I held her apple, and I fell asleep. So,
You
and
fell
this is
asleep?
like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We had a late lunch where I chose to have a couple of tortillas with my meal, and yeah, she said, "Can you hold it?" I'm going to, okay. So I held it and I fell asleep. So when she came back, she took a shower. She went to take a shower, came down, and she's like, "Mom, what are you doing?" Like, she's never seen me sleeping in the middle of the day, sitting down holding an apple. That's how physically how I felt, even though I didn't beat myself up in thoughts, negative thoughts, because I had chosen to do that, and I was very aware, and I didn't regret it. But my body felt different.
Yeah.
And my body chose to take a nap, which it just. So I'm like, I was happy, I have to say, and I think I probably mentioned, I was happy that happened, because it's a reminder of, yes, I can choose whatever I want. And then after that, I chose not to feel that way.
Gotcha.
You know?
That is your personal power, in my opinion. And Mavika is asking, when you say no sugar, Veronica, do you eat fresh fruit or dry fruit or sugary vegetables or starchy vegetables or any 50 plus different types of sugar? Or how about ultra processed food? So can you tell her about what you actually eat or don't eat?
What I eat is what Nata like to call food, real food. So proteins, all type of protein, vegetables, fruits, all real food. If it's real, if it's not processed, if it's not packaged with extra ingredients other than the actual food that I'm eating, I eat it. And I can enjoy a piece of mango or berries or whatever it is. So when I say sugar, I mean more so to the added sugar, because I know that some other vegetables and fruit have sugar, and I'm totally cool with that. It's just the processed stuff that is just out of my life now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's great. And there's no one right way. It's not like I gave you some sort of list of good and bad foods. So it's up to us to sort of, I think certain foods are good when they make us feel good, and others not so much if they don't make us feel good. And by feel good, I don't mean feel less bad. I mean actually feel good, like you were describing, with the energy and the, this sort of zest for life, rather than sitting on the couch and falling asleep in the middle of the afternoon. Which we have to experience that to be able to compare what that's like with feeling good.
Absolutely, and that's what I said. I was kind of happy that happened, because if I hadn't tried and if I hadn't chosen to eat that, I don't know, maybe I would say, eventually. And I'm not saying that ever in my life I'm gonna eat a tortilla. I'm not gonna say that. When I feel like, if I choose that, the benefit or what I'm looking in that tortilla will be greater than the price that I'm gonna pay for it. And if I choose to eat it, I'll eat it. I'm not saying no. But it's just now I have a different perspective, because I know I can easily identify, because it's completely out of my regular diet and my regular day. When I eat it, it's so easy to pinpoint what was it. Mm-hmm. Because it wasn't that plus this plus that. It was something specific. The only thing different that I did that day was eating those two, and fresh. They were just made that day in front of my eyes, and presumably based with the ingredients that, it wasn't made in a lab and stored for 2 weeks, or no, it was just
right.
So for me, even that, I just,
Yeah, great. Yeah. Again, what's good for one person is not necessarily for someone else. And, there's a whole range of bio-individuality. But what I think is inspiring for you, for your emotional freedom, what I understand of your emotional freedom is that, first of all, you don't need the foods to cope with emotions anymore. Any foods, and I'm not saying that foods are bad because I'm just saying you don't need to deal with your emotions by putting something in your mouth anymore. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that you're the one in charge. You decide what you want or don't want to eat. You've lost this sort of feeling of powerlessness that we often have with these, sugary foods that we're like, oh, I can't not, they're calling my name. You're sort of, do you miss that at all?
No, thank you. No. It was, for me, it got me into a very bad cycle, right? And a vicious cycle because, I was tired. I remember when living in Montreal, like my daughter was little, and like months. We went there when she was just born, like a month old or something. And I struggled quite a lot at the beginning because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was doing. And, I had a brand new baby. And I remember at the end of the day, when finally my daughter fell asleep, I would go out, and it didn't matter if it was summer or winter, believe me, and you know what the winters in Montreal are. Yeah. I would get up and get out and go to the convenience store. The pharmacy was the only one that was open that late sometimes, because sometimes she would go to that at 11 or something. And I would just buy a bag of little mini Reese's Pieces or whatever it was. And it wasn't not a single bag. It was those bags that people buy for having around 300 grams or I don't know how many. And I would just eat them one after another before I even got back. Like it was enough. Sometimes I had to buy two because if I had to share, then maybe I have mine. Like it was crazy. But then again, immediately that feeling of, what am I doing? My head will kick in first, but not until I finish. Okay. It will kick in first right away. What am I doing? And I feel horrible about this and that, and get down on myself because of what I just did. And then because I felt bad, I always kind of needed, this will make me feel good. And then I'll go back. And if there was a kind of Coke, I had so many issues. I struggled so much with pop and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was just one thing to another, one thing like after another, and it will get in this. No, and you don't miss that. I do not miss it. Not at all.
Do not miss it. Of course you don't. Yeah. Thanks, Veronica. Thanks for asking. Fantastic question and fantastic answer. I agree. And one last question is, how long have you been without sugar, and what are your health benefits that you've gained after quitting sugar? And we talked about this just a little bit before, but can you tell Malvika?
So right now, I would say, what is it? 6 months maybe, completely out, because before I was on and off and for various, but like for good, it's been like 6 months or so. And healthy benefits, well, I can tell you, less headaches. So you see a lot of headaches.
Yeah, I started on headaches.
Yes, so less headaches. I'm no longer bloated, because I used to be like, and it was instant after the meal. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like I'm pregnant again. So, and I'm going to say something, and it may be controversial, but you can answer that. Cholesterol. I used to have issues with cholesterol, and even though they may not be, from what I learned, 100% related to what I eat, it just changed. My blood work, 6 months last year, my family doctor will call me and say, okay, this is the last time I do the test, and if it comes back like this, I'm gonna have to put you in a pill. And I don't like taking pills. I respect if needed and fine, but I personally avoid them. And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do it, right? But I tried some other things, and remember I told you I had to drink oil like this. And no, but now that I'm fully out of all those processed foods and all the flour, the added sugar, and basically the processed food, boom, everything normalized. Like it was that was it. Yeah. Yeah, that's to name a few. But yeah, those are probably the more critical ones. I was worried about that, my blood work, and that feeling of feeling bloated all the time.
Yeah, and having to hold it in all the time, holding your stomach. Yeah, it was horrible.
And the headaches too.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Wow. Fantastic. All good. Thanks everyone for being here and for asking your questions. And if you have any more questions, pop them in the comments and we'll answer them. But we both have to run and do the mum thing now. So we're going to stop right now. And yes, feel free to share this, to watch it on YouTube. It's on Facebook. And to drop us the comments, like and love the video. And thanks for being here. Thanks, Veronica. Lovely.
No, thank you. Thank you for, not for this, but for everything you have helped me achieve. Because I've said it many times, and I'm never gonna get tired of saying it. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. It's mutual. We're good friends, and I really value our friendship. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.